Okay, good evening and welcome to tonight, July 28th Warrant Committee meeting. It appears we have a quorum. I do not see anyone on Zoom, so I would ask people in the room, starting with to my left, to go around and introduce yourself to the TV.
I'm Elaine Craighead.
I'm Cecile Yang.
Nick Tagney.
James Lee Das.
Lorraine D.
Brian McGuire.
Andrew Coe.
Grace Doherty.
And I'm Jay Funling, the chair. Okay, so the first thing...
Jay,
yes.
you do have Ron has joined via Zoom.
Wonderful.
Sorry to interrupt.
Wonderful. I don't see him as a panelist, but I trust that that's coming.
I'll try and promote it again.
Okay. Okay, so the first thing on our agenda is a discussion of an open Warrant Committee seat. I sent around an email to the committee today discussing that one of the nominees was not a registered voter as of July 1st, which leaves us with an open Warrant Committee seat. I proposed a method for filling this seat, and with that proposed method, I sent around the applications that 3 people submitted to be on the Warrant Committee, and I sent them around without their names, with the intention that we could get enough information from those applications to decide who we want to have on this Warrant Committee. I would say by looking at these 3, all 3 of them are qualified to be on the Warrant Committee. I believe I can speak for the town moderator and say that she also feels that way. So what I wanted to avoid, well, I wanted several things. I wanted to give the committee a choice, rather than come forward with one person and say, here's your one person, do you like them or not? But by giving the committee a choice, I did not want to have the committee, I didn't want it to seem personal. If I said, well, here's John Smith and here's Jane Doe, and then we're all sitting around discussing, well, I like John and I don't like Jane. We might not mean it in any personal way. I'm sure we would mean it in any personal way. But if you're John and Jane at home sitting listening to this, it might not feel so great. So I sent around the applications giving you the brief background of 3 people that I think all would be qualified Warrant Committee members, hoping that that gives us enough information to decide how to fill this role. I will say that, and I'll also say that I'm sort of hoping, I said in an email that I'd hoped we could wrap this up in 10 minutes. That's not a hard deadline, but it is my intention to say we could discuss this for an hour. We could discuss this for half an hour. I don't think we need to. I think we can sort of hash it out and see who we think would be good. And if not, then maybe we'll kick this off to another day. First, I know there are some concerns about the process that I've proposed. Would anybody, I don't want to spend a long time talking about the process, but is there comfort in this committee with the process that I proposed, looking at anonymous applications and deciding who is best? Andrew?
My preference would it be not anonymous for the reasons you articulated. Maybe it makes sense not to speak names publicly over television, but I would have loved to have seen the full application, including the resumes that the candidates submitted, because I think doing the proper amount of due diligence on candidates, not what they present, but what their background represents, is something that I would normally do during the course of any sort of evaluation, whether it's a hire or adding someone to a board or even just getting to know someone. Mm-hmm. There's what they present and what you learn about them. But I think the bigger thing is, since we're proposing adding to the committee, I would have loved to have seen a larger body vote on adding this additional person, as many people on the committee as possible. I've still yet to meet two folks on the committee, is that right?
Oh, because we don't have a full committee tonight?
We have a lot of people missing.
You're correct. We have, what do we have? We have 9 people in the room and a 10th person, so we have 10 out of 14. Mm-hmm. You're correct.
So my preference is, if we're adding to the body, I know it's difficult to get everybody in the room at the same time, but I would love them more than close to half of the, or close to a third of the committee missing. I would have loved to have gotten their input, and as you heard last week, I was trying to get input from as many people as possible, even if they were not necessarily sworn in at the time to vote. So it's just my personal preference.
Okay. Does anyone else have comments, comfort or lack thereof about the process I proposed? Elaine?
I think it would be ideal if everybody were here, but I feel the need to keep moving through the agenda so that we can add the person and move on. And that's just my thought.
James Lee, did I see you?
Yeah, and I am open to what I consider to be a blind application process. I've gone through these before, and they tend to be fair in what we're presented with. I do understand your concern about not seeing a full resume and being able to see the full details in the background of the person coming in, but I wasn't privy to that for all of you that were coming in, and vice versa, I'm guessing. So this is not necessarily much different than the way that this current committee has been formed.
I agree with that. That's actually both of them, but we should get this moving forward so we can go through the agenda, and then whomever we pick becomes part of the group, and we can move forward with the work that we have to do.
Okay. Did someone say something?
I'll just say, I mean, I think this is a lot better than what we were going to do. And I think I like the fact that we're not seeing the names,
Okay.
so.
I'm not sure what we're going to do, but,
Well, last week we were going to appoint somebody.
oh, okay,
You know what I
okay,
mean?
okay,
This is like a lot more,
okay.
better system, thank you.
So hearing that, I'd like to proceed. So you all received, and I hope you all received the email of,
I'll just, sorry, Jake.
Sure.
One last comment. I don't see the urgency in adding this person right now. We've operated with people missing. When town moderator was elected, we went quite a good amount of time without an additional member. So we could table this. We can move on. I just want to state for the record that I don't see the urgency in adding,
okay,
filling the open slot
okay.
right now.
Ron, I see your hand up.
Hi, nice to meet you. My only comment is, the thought is to wait for the full warrant committee to be in attendance to choose a new member. I can't remember the last time we've had full attendance of every single member. Maybe we had it once last year. So I just worry that, we'll wait and nothing will happen. So I agree with the voices that said we can make a good decision, the best decision based on the information we have, and just move on. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Andrew, I hear your concern, but I will say, as a matter of process, we have a quorum here, and we can, which I know that's not what you're arguing, and I respect your point, but it seems like there's a consensus around the table virtually that we can move forward. So I sent 3 applications. I called them Mr. A, Mr. B, and Miss C. Hope you all got that email, got the opportunity to look at it. Would anyone like to speak to which member? Would anyone like to speak to the decision we have in front of us?
Yeah, I actually have a question, because, to Andrew's point, it's kind of hard to see what these people have. There's a general idea of what they do, but is there a certain skill set that the warrant committee needs that would benefit picking one of these over the other? Just because I'm new, I'm asking that question.
Good question.
I also have that
You know what I
question.
mean?
That's a good question.
Because for me, I don't think any of them are better or worse necessarily, but it's about skill sets and what do we need to actually help enhance the committee.
I want to be as unbiased as I can in this discussion. I don't know if someone else wants to chime in, but I guess one thing that I will say is we currently have 2 attorneys, I believe, which is Macy and Ron. So that's something to think about.
Okay.
Is, do we want another attorney? There's also the question of, I'm trying to say this without being biased or, being for or against any candidate. But there's a question of town meeting experience. Sometimes it's a benefit for warrant committee members to have significant town meeting experience.
How many, you said you weren't sure about our need for a finance person on the committee. How many do we have with finance backgrounds?
Well, I have finance.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, gotcha.
More, a lot more.
Yeah.
I mean, Nikki, who hasn't been here yet, she's a finance professor. Nick, I don't know if you raised your hand, but I'm certainly counting you.
I work at an investment firm, but I don't consider myself a finance guy.
Well,
Okay.
to my simple mind, you are.
It's fine.
I'm a banker and I do finance all the time, so.
I'll make a point.
Okay.
This is the only thing, because I don't really know I know what two people do, but I don't know what the third one does. But we do have two attorneys on it, but one has been on for 3 years, one has been on for 2 years, and if there's a 3-year cycle, it might be good to have one continue. Just a thought.
Okay.
When I was looking at these resumes and, well, I guess applications, part of what stuck out to me was the project management and the ability to kind of look at projects and move things forward. That looked like a skill set that might be useful, but not sure what other people think. Generally, that's a really good skill set to have.
Here's the other thing that was problematic for me. It was that candidate A and B was fairly detailed. Candidate C, I know absolutely, having read this, have learned absolutely nothing about the person.
True.
So I can't so basically we're looking at two candidates, both of whom I think seem at first glance pretty experienced and good backgrounds, but if there's something missing about candidate C, I'd love to learn more about it. But if we're determined to make a vote tonight, I have a candidate in mind.
Okay.
I'll just make a point that I noticed that candidate A had both elected experience as a town meeting member as well as some volunteer experience on other boards and committees in town. And the others didn't have both.
I actually like that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Ron, go ahead.
Hi, I'll just be devil's advocate here. I generally agree that we want folks on the warrant committee who are involved in town politics and town government, but sometimes I think about, it's nice to have a voice that has a fresh perspective that's not insular from inside the government. And I think there have been warrant committee members who have had, very little involvement in town government. I think they share a very different perspective. And I'd like to hear that because I think, the community is made of people who do volunteer, and it's also made of folks who are not actively involved, but they're also impacted by the recommendations that we make. So just for that perspective, sometimes I do think having a someone who's not in town meeting could be helpful.
I would love to hear us sort of moving towards an endpoint. I would love to hear people saying, this is the person that I would like to, there's a reason I left names off. You can just say, this is the one I want. I think that would get us to the end of a conversation if people are comfortable saying that. And if they're not, maybe we'll kick this off till next meeting. Elaine?
I get Ron's point, but I know so little about C that I couldn't, to piggyback on what Andrew said, I just couldn't back the person. And if it's between A and B, I'm in support of candidate A.
Okay, thank you.
I actually am supportive of candidate A too for the broader experience and the town meeting experience.
Okay.
To Ron's point, I'll just say for the record that I've had zero town governance or any sort of political experience prior to joining the warrant committee. And you may think that's a good or bad thing, depending on last year.
I'll say I thought B was a lot more robust. Actually, I had none either, no experience either on anything. But I thought B was a more robust experience. It was very impressive, actually, I thought. But, and I think that talking about being non-biased, I think, and is like a good thing. But I liked A too. I mean, I could buy that too. I could buy that person also.
Okay.
So, but that's my opinion. And I don't know enough about C. I just don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm with the consensus of the three. I think C is the one that seems the least detailed and the least amount of information. So I think if I had to eliminate one, I think I would eliminate C. Of the other two, I think they're both good. I prefer B over A. I think there's a little bit more complication and maybe some of the issues that person has dealt with. And I think that would be beneficial for the committee, but I think A is a good candidate.
Okay. So how I'm imagining this is a informal straw poll where we say A, B, or C. We, not me, I won't vote. And then I tell you the name, and then we vote on that person. So are we at the point where people are comfortable to do an informal straw poll to say A, B, or C? Does that make sense? Am I making this overly confusing? All right, so we'll see what the group thinks between A, B, or C, and then I'll tell you that person's name, and then we'll nominate them.
You've seen the background of candidate C, the full resume.
Pretty
right?
much no. I know the person's name, but
Didn't,
I didn't like look them up on LinkedIn or
they
anything.
didn't attach, I thought all these referenced to attached resumes.
Yeah.
Only A referenced an attached resume.
Oh,
And I looked at it and I thought about blacking out the name, but it was pretty much, sorry, I misspoke. B referenced an attached resume.
Okay.
I looked at the attached resume, thought, should I include it? It was pretty much what they said in their application.
I'd be curious if we missed something about C. I'd hate to exclude someone because I know absolutely nothing about them, but shame on them for submitting an application that way then.
Yeah,
And I'm surprised that that's top three candidate. But
so if we're ready for the informal straw poll, Karen, will you call roll for the straw poll to say A, B, or C?
Sure, give me 1 second. Elaine?
A.
Jamesley?
A.
Lorraine?
A.
Grace?
A.
Andrew?
I'm going to abstain.
Okay, then we have Brian.
B.
Ron?
B.
Nicholas?
B.
Cecile?
A.
Jay, you are not voting?
I am not voting.
Okay, I think that's everybody, and we have 5 for A and 3 for B.
Okay, so I'm going to informally ask the people who voted for B, do you have serious objections? Speak now or...
To A?
Right,
Obviously, that's what you meant.
okay.
I mean, I would be supportive. I don't know.
Okay. Great, just you know, this is an unusual process, obviously, and I'm feeling my way out. So, okay, so the majority voted A. A is Larry Johnson of 74 Dyer Ave. So, given that you know his name is Larry Johnson of 74 Dyer Ave, do we have a motion for the addition of someone to this committee?
I make a motion to accept Larry Johnson of 74 Dyer Ave as a warrant committee member.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. That was Lorraine seconded, I believe?
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. Karen, will you call roll, please?
Sure. Elaine,
Yes.
Jamesley,
Yes.
Lorraine,
Yes.
Grace,
Yes.
Andrew,
Abstain.
Brian,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
Nicholas,
Yes.
Cecile,
Yes.
and Jay, are you voting?
I will vote yes on this vote.
Okay, the motion carries.
Okay. I happen to know that Larry is with Scouts in the middle of, I think, New Mexico with no internet signal, so he will not be joining us tonight, but I will convey the results of this to him. Thank you for working with me in what was a non-traditional process. I appreciate it. Andrew, I especially appreciate you because I always know you speak up and speak your mind. Thank you. Okay,
Thanks for improving the process than what it was.
I'm not sure if I did, but we're done. 7:23, not too bad.
No, I agree. I was just going to abstain if we did it the way that it was set up for us to do, so thank you.
Okay. I'd like to move on to the agenda. Now, I would like, if any of you are looking at your agenda, then you have better things to do. I would like to move to Article 5 of the agenda rather than Article 3, because I think it's a little more concrete to get our hands on. Article 5 is discussing upcoming articles for this fall town meeting. The fall town meeting will be October 27th. And the warrant will go to print in early October, so we need our decisions on the articles by then. I sent all of you an email sometime in the past week with the information that we have so far on the upcoming articles. What I would like, I'm going to try to get you information about articles as early as possible. If they're not finished, then I'll tell you this isn't finished, but here's what's coming up. If we don't have anything in writing, I'll tell you that, but here's what's coming up. And what I would like to do, preferably tonight, and I know we have, who's not here? Aside from Larry, and
Macy.
aside from Macy, who might be calling in from the airport, although really she just enjoy her vacation. And Nikki, and we got Ron.
Lee Michael.
Yes, Lee Michael, thank you.
Julie Maxwell's not on.
Thank you, okay. So, what I would like to do is, so in the past, we've gotten warrant articles, like we might get a planning board article that's 10 or 15 pages of zoning language, and we all get it emailed to us, and then some amount of time later, we come to a meeting and discuss it. Now, ideally, we all read it over and think about it as much as we can, but we're 15 people and we've got a limited amount of time. So what I would like to do, and I don't want to limit anybody's role, but I would like to take each of these articles that is coming to us in the fall town meeting and assign, I'm thinking 2 people per article, and I want you two to really dig into it, really read every word, ask questions about the background, so that if nothing else, we've got a couple people who are very knowledgeable about it. Again, that's not to say anybody else can't dig into it. I'm just saying, rather than, hey, 15 people, why don't you read this long zoning article, maybe say, we know these people are going to really dig into it. So, to go briefly over the articles that we have coming up to us, the first 2 have very boring names. The first one is Accept 40-57. That's accepting a part of the Massachusetts general law. Skimming over it, and I have skimmed over this again because I'm going to assign 2 of you to be the experts on it. Skimming over it, it's allowing the town or the treasurer to revoke certain permits in town if someone hasn't paid their fees. Also, accepting Mass General Law 60-3D, which establishes an optional fund to help low-income seniors. I understand, we discussed this, it was going to be on the agenda last spring, but then we cut town meeting's agenda down severely, so it didn't make the final cut. But as far as I understand, it's an optional fund that people can pay into to help low-income seniors with their property taxes. The next one that will be coming in front of us is alcohol on town land. Now, last year, town meeting had an article in front of us to approve alcohol on town property, town buildings and town land. What town meeting in the final analysis approved was alcohol in town buildings. For example, the Milton Arts Center, or the library, or this building. We approved that alcohol could be allowed in town buildings, but did not approve alcohol to be allowed outdoors. For example, on the backyard of the Milton Arts Center, or the Manning Park over the expressway. So what's coming before us this fall is, do we approve alcohol use on town land with restrictions? The next one is lighting trespass. That's one that the Warrant Committee discussed a couple times last year, but never came to a final form for town meeting approval. Long story short, if you're my neighbor, you've got a bright floodlight shining in my bedroom, is there a bylaw discussing that? Next is the climate action plan, which is coming to us from the climate committee. Again, I want people to look into this. I looked at it a little bit. There's a sort of question of, what does it mean? Is it advisory? Is it aspirational? Is it concrete? Again, all of you were sent versions of this earlier on. So basically a climate action plan for the town. What should we be doing regarding climate? There's also an article coming from the school building committee, which is that the land swap had a limit of 5 years previously, and they want that extended by 5 more years. There is the Master Plan Implementation Committee. The description we all got from the town administrator was something about reporting back to us, but what I'm aware of is that the master plan was the master plan for the town. Where do we want to go as a town? It was made about 10 years ago after much citizen involvement, and there was a Master Plan Implementation Committee set up to last 10 years. My understanding is that one thing they'll do is ask for it to be extended by 1 more year. And I'm expecting 2 articles from the planning board. One is a sign bylaw, which means exactly what you might expect. In fact, it might mean, when and where are signs allowed. And the other one involves traffic study. I believe it's a fund, like if you build and are adding to traffic, you pay into a fund. So those are 9 articles that, to my knowledge, are coming to us this fall. After having heard those, again, I would like to appoint, it can be tonight, it can be over email over the next week or so, appoint a couple of experts to focus on these. To my mind, about half of them are going to take a good amount of work. About half of them will take not very much work, but that's a matter of opinion. Would anyone like to speak up and say any that particularly appealed to them that they would like to investigate? Brian?
No, go ahead. I heard you first.
I just had a quick question.
Sure.
So would the people responsible for each article also be responsible for reaching out to the person or the organization that's putting forward the article for more clarification?
I think that'll be one of the that'll be one of the best uses of your time. Don't create things out of thin air, but either talking to the town administrator is always a good idea, and talking to whoever's proposing this.
Yeah, I'd love to be on the school building
Okay.
and the climate action plan.
Okay.
Anyways, might throw that out there.
Okay. That's not exclusive. It's not like he's calling dibs. We're just expressing interest.
Yeah, others.
It's to my mind. What's that?
As a new committee member, could
Sure.
you elaborate a little bit more on what you have in mind? So, the homework that you would do, you come back to the warrant committee with sort of a summary assessment of facts. Would you present that orally? Is there an expectation that you'd write a memo about that? I'd just like to learn a little bit more about what the homework means, just to make sure that I'm doing the right things.
Yeah, very good question. I think and we haven't done this in the past, so I'm flying by the seat of my pants. What I'm thinking is sort of comb through it and see what are any problems. Like, for example, the planning board, the zoning articles, those will be long. So whether it's reading through it for typos or things that aren't logical or things that don't fit with what you know of the town, those will be, some of the biggest ones. So I would say, in general, comb through it. What leaps out at you? What's a problem? What might town meeting ask? If you're a town meeting member and somebody's proposing, let's do this, what's the question that you're going to have?
Okay, and the zoning articles tend to be, just you said, dense with a lot of cross-references to other parts of the zoning. So how do you sort of become well-informed on that so that you can make a thoughtful evaluation or consideration and share that with committee members?
Sure, I will say, that was, the planning board are the experts on that, and the language is written by planning staff in town, so hopefully it'll just be, so I'm not expecting anyone else here to be more of an expert than the planning board or the staff that wrote it. But there are typos, there are, think of when you're editing a document. Sometimes you edit the document and by the time you're done editing, the things just don't fit together in a way that makes sense. So
sort of a common sense standard.
Yeah.
And curiosity about what the issues are and the pros and cons.
Yeah. Yeah.
So is the intention to make sure that it makes sense or to also question the article as well in terms of logic or suitability? What is the intention?
I'd say that's a good question. And, to, in some ways, put it off. What I'll be talking about in a little while is the summit that we might have in the fall, where we'll address things like, what's the scope of what we're looking at?
Okay.
Is it the 15 of us think this is a good idea, or is it something different? Mm-hmm. But for now, since we haven't decided on things like that, I'd say it's all the above. Like if you're looking at the alcohol on town land, you can ask yourself, does this bylaw make sense? Are there any internal inconsistencies? You can ask yourself, okay, there were objections from the Board of Health last year. Has the Board of Health been consulted and what do they think? Mm-hmm. And you can also ask yourself, do I think it's a good idea to have alcohol on the park on 93? Whether or not that's what we should make our decision on, I don't know, but you can certainly ask yourself that and figure out a logical answer that fits for the town. And, I don't want it to be totally someone's whim, oh, I don't like alcohol, but something that does it seem like it's a good idea for the town?
Sorry, one more question. In
Sure.
terms of sharing our thoughts with the committee, how do we go about that?
Yeah, I didn't answer that question, did I? For each of these, we'll have, let me make it up as I go along. For each of these, we're eventually going to have someone come in and talk to us. For a lot of these, it'll be the town administrator. For two of them, it'll be maybe the chair of the planning board. The climate action plan chair will come into us. The school building committee chair will come into us. So I think, I'm imagining, let's say the school building committee chair comes to talk to us and says, this is, why we're proposing this. This is why we think it's a good idea. I think at that time, the experts will, I'm open to suggestions, but I'm thinking if nothing else, the experts will sort of hand in hand help run the presentation and say, okay, school building committee chair thinks this, here's what we investigated. We looked into this and we asked these questions and here are the answers we had. So I'm not thinking, that can be the end of my sentence. No, I'm not thinking necessarily a written summary, but I'd leave it up to you. If you think the best way to respond to the warrant committee is to write up a little summary, we'll have to be aware of public meeting laws, of course. It wouldn't be something you could email us out of a public meeting. But yeah, I'm open to, as forum members saw, I like presenting my thoughts in PowerPoint. Other members of the committee didn't. That's fine. I don't know if I answered your question. I think I probably didn't. But we'll figure it out together.
No, I think going back to the first meeting, somebody made a comment about proposing that some questions be presented. It might have been you, Brian.
I think so.
That be presented to the expected speakers in advance so that they can't claim we'll go back for information and never come back to us with that information. And maybe the role of the assigned signees are to either prepare or solicit questions to be proposed to those speakers in advance, in addition to some of the other things that you said. So maybe it does make sense. And it doesn't preclude anybody else from doing their own research on the articles anyway, so it's just,
Right, it doesn't. But if you're the expert on Article number 1, and Elaine has a question on Article number 1, she certainly can reach out to the person who's sponsoring it, but it also might be a good idea to funnel it through you.
yes, so I wouldn't mind doing 3 and 5, alcohol on town land and climate action plan.
Okay.
I'd be
And again,
interested,
I'm not necessarily saying this is dibs, but I'm just writing down names.
I'd be interested in the master plan and the senior low-income article.
Okay.
Oh,
Now, I'm interested in the climate action plan and the traffic study.
Okay. We've got 3 for climate action plan, but that's not the end of the world. Okay.
the Fund for Low-Income Seniors and the land swap extension for the school building committee.
Okay. Don't want to put anyone on the spot, but
I'm interested in the revoke the permits if you don't pay fees,
okay.
the alcohol on town land, the lighting trespass, and the sign bylaw.
Okay. Ambitious.
Well, I don't want to necessarily
Yeah.
be on all of them.
No, yeah, nope.
Give me some choice.
I'm interested in more than.
I'm writing I'm writing it down now, but
I heard him say that he was interested in all 4.
and it's recorded. And we also have 4 or 5 members that aren't here that we can shove in any holes. Speaking of forcing people to do things, Ron, I'm going to force you to speak, unless you don't want to.
Hey Jay, I will be happy to take any topic that no one else
Wow.
wants.
Ooh.
Yeah, I don't have a preference either. I can
That's
Wow.
Articles
Team
10
players.
through 20 as they appear.
wait in the day.
It's just a communication of my lack of expertise, and I'm willing to help out anywhere. So thank you.
I don't want to put you on the spot. Did you want to?
Oh, I also don't have a preference for anything, but
Okay.
I would love to be paired up with someone who has been on warrant committee before for
Okay.
maybe at least one of them.
Okay. Okay. So I think I'm going to sort through this, reach out to the members who aren't here. And, I mean, there are 9 articles. If there's 2 members per article, then, I don't know, does my math work? I don't know. Okay, so I'll reach out to y'all with proposals, with a proposed assignment.
And we want it by the next meeting, or, okay.
Yes, yes. Okay. Any other questions about the upcoming articles for the fall town meeting?
Yes, when have they started writing any of them, or how do we get in touch with the people? Or you'll get back to us on that.
Yeah, good question. I think tomorrow, sometime soon, in 2 days for some reason. It's on a Wednesday. The select board is going to be voting on a number of these to officially put them forward to us. As far as do we have final wording? Some do, some don't, is all I can tell you.
Okay.
But again, I'd rather not wait for final wording and start sort of getting ready.
So we'll just work on what you've sent out. Okay.
Okay. So after that discussion, I think it'll be a little bit easier to have a discussion of agenda item number 3, which is discuss committee roles. I discussed this last time, and I just gave away all my copies. Oh well, I can imagine it in my brain. No, that's okay.
Send it back.
All right, they're coming back. Which is
Okay, thank you.
the annual town meeting will come up in the spring, and what I've got listed here are, the first 2/3 of them are budget items that are always things that come before town meeting in the spring. And then the last few are other items that may come up or that we may want to be knowledgeable about. Hold on, I'm making a note to myself. So what I proposed last meeting, and it met with robust discussion, as it should, is having, instead of subcommittees for big groups, having experts assigned to each one of these roles. You can see about half of them are departments. I'm going to be an expert on the fire department budget, the health department, the parks department. Other ones that I have listed under other budget items are, some of them are more complicated. For example, bonds. In some sense, the article that's written on the warrant for bond payments, we're not going to mess with that. It's going to be the treasurer's going to tell us how much we owe for bond payments this year, and we're going to say yes. But I would like at least one member of this committee to be an expert on where do our bonds stand and what's coming up next year and the year after that, because you tend to know things like that when you have bonds. We have various stabilization funds. I'd like someone to know what's going on with those. There's what's near and dear to my heart as a former employee benefits actuary is health insurance, pension. I can take on those, but I'm also happy to work with someone else on them. The revenue side, we don't get to vote on the revenue, but we should be knowledgeable of, the town says we're having this much revenue come in. Is that a reasonable thing for us to expect when building our budget? Or is the revenue assumption correct, or should it be fiddled with? So, similar to how we just had experts for all the warrant articles, and I'm certainly not proposing that we hash this out tonight, but I would like people to look at this list, think of what you'd like to be experts on, and let me know your interests. James Lee.
I do have a question, like just on the revenue, for instance, why is it broken up as opposed to being one line item?
I mean, I can answer that in two ways. One answer is that they're different revenue sources. New growth is when new houses are built, that adds to our revenue. State aid is whatever we're getting from the state of Massachusetts. And local receipts is like restaurant, car tags, things like that. That's answering your question in one way. And the other way is I tried to break things up as much as possible.
Okay.
No, it's certainly one person certainly might decide to take on all three of those, and that's perfectly fine.
Same thing with financial policies 1, 2, and 3, so.
Oh, yes. I don't know if you saw the last meeting. I want us to discuss, and I want us to discuss in the next couple months and also coming up at our summit in the fall, things like with the override, it created an override stabilization fund with the goal of we put in money now, it keeps our budget stable and we don't have to have an override for 5 years. There's also a special education stabilization fund. So one thing I'd like to have in writing, and some people think it's the warrant committee's job, some people think it's the town administrator's job. I just want somebody to do it, is some sort of policy like, okay, we've got a special education stabilization fund. When is it appropriate to put money into it? When is it appropriate to take money out of it?
Oh, okay, so these are signed sort of next to the funds, basically, 1, 2, and 3. That's what you're aligning them to? Or?
No, actually, I was just thinking that we could get 3 people to start thinking deeply about all sorts of these things.
Okay.
So when do you want us to get back to you by about what our choices would be?
A week would be great. Yes.
Some of these are more complicated than others. Would you have 2 or more, or 3 or 4 people on it?
That was not my intent, but I'm open to discussion.
Like the schools one.
Yeah.
It's very complicated.
Yeah.
Maybe that should be broken up or something.
Yeah, I think if there's a sensible way to break it up, I'm certainly up to discussing that. I'm still, a couple reasons I think it's good to have one person. One is that, the school vice administrator, whatever she is, assistant administrator, and she very much appreciated having one person that she talked to and one person that she answered questions from. And it just sort of focuses the responsibility on one person. If we can break it up, I'm very open to that, but if we just call it schools, I'm very much inclined to have it be one person.
But we would take multiples on this because there's 39
Right.
articles.
I mean, you can see difficulty. I very subjectively gave them a 3 or a 2 or a 1, 3 being most difficult, 1 being trivial. Really. Maybe not trivial. Easy. So yeah, Brian, schools is the one that I've wrestled with the most. I still think it's best to have one person.
I guess this goes back to my question about the why break up the financial policies into 3, but then not break up the schools into 3, that kind of, or anything that's difficulty of 3 into something that would be like a 2.
Yeah.
Whereas like, okay, this is the portion of that conversation that can be broken up, or just making financial policies become a 3 because you're going to be looking at 3.
Yeah, you're going to look at the
policies.
revenue and the policies at the same time. Yeah. All right.
Okay, that was my thought on those.
There were a lot of issues with the school last year. And so maybe it wouldn't be a bad idea. I just think that, for one, that one should be definitely,
I think we should have multiple people.
I agree.
Well-
I agree.
People, or split it into multiple roles. I mean,
Yeah.
one thing that I did not do is have a conversation with Bob Pattinson regarding IT in schools, because they run a separate IT department from the town.
Okay.
There's obviously an HR and collective bargaining component to schools. There is school building, which is called out separately in here.
So's the contract.
Even if we were limiting the conversations to 1 or 2 people with the school, it is such a beast that I don't see any harm in having multiple people involved.
Okay. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I keep coming back to, and I'm not trying to be negative at all, but for the past 3 years, I was on a warrant committee that had a school subcommittee, and I never saw the school subcommittee come back and say, we are the school subcommittee, and we decided this, and we're presenting this. So to a certain extent, I don't know, I don't think
I mean,
it sounds so bad if I say I don't think it can be worse.
No,
that sounds so bad.
I understand. The flip side of that coin was no committee was actually asked to report
Yeah.
either. So
Yeah.
that's not how we as a committee generally operated. And
And there is
Sorry,
one.
what was the process then last year?
they provided substantial input in
You're talking about the
discussion.
school, right?
Any committee. So for example, if there was an
Subcommittees of the warrant committee, right? Just to be on the same page.
yes,
Okay, yep.
subcommittee and the warrant committee. And
Yep.
so let's say a school warrant article came up. I would frequently hear from the folks on the school committee about conversations they had regarding teachers, or their view that there was very little mechanism for reporting to actuals on the financials for the school, and other issues that came up. They had far deeper insight into the schools, and
yeah.
I know
Well, if you read the warrant from whenever we did this, the override for the school, the budget, when we approved that, I think that was the June one. That was written pretty much by the school budget committee, and that was one of the best written warrants, I think. In the school, and they had a lot of recommendations.
That was by the school committee subcommittee, not by the warrant committee.
the warrant subcommittee.
The school committee, I'm sorry, the warrant committee, yeah, wrote it. But the school subcommittee, the warrant school subcommittee wrote it for the school
Okay.
committee. But the school committee adopted almost every recommendation that they had. Because they did come back and say, well, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. This should be improved, this should be improved. No, it should be improved. And they say that they adopted a lot of those things. At least at the last warrant meeting. So I actually did think it was productive. And it is complicated.
Yeah.
It's not, it's a air.
So what were you saying was missing? I guess I'm not understanding, because it sounds,
Well,
I read the whole thing,
They
so I
didn't come
understand.
back. There was no formal presentation
Okay, to this
you know,
committee
to
here,
the
like to
committee.
larger.
Right. That's
Yeah.
fair, that's true.
They didn't report back on all their conversations, but for example, Jay, Brian, and I were on general business. And due to timing issues and other case, just expertise, some of those general business categories were split up. So IT, for example, I shared some general findings, but didn't get into the detailed nature of all the conversations I had. I had conversations with regards to insurance. Brian really dug into the pension, if I would.
There were questions on the pension. I don't know if, yeah, right, we
And then-
talked about that.
Jay spent a lot of time looking at health insurance. So by nature of any related articles, it came up in conversations, but it's not like we had a show and tell for every committee. And I actually think that might be counterproductive, or to have a show and tell about everything, but maybe a general summary wouldn't hurt.
Yeah.
It was hard because like the school committee would come in and present, and they would present their budget, and then people here would ask questions, you know?
Right.
And that's what they did. So but there was no presentation by the whole committee.
Yeah, I will say, and you can see this column of, in my opinion, if this should be presented to the warrant committee, or just maybe like write up a written summary and say,
Oh, okay, so that would be
The-
the subcommittee or whoever's working on it present to this committee, that's what you're saying? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, okay, understand.
and the ones that don't have, maybe a little paragraph, here's what's going on with the insurance bill this year. I will say one other issue with subcommittees is the open meeting law. As far as I can tell, the open meeting law applies to subcommittees. I mean, it's really as far as I can tell. So, and we stuck to that pretty strictly my first year on the warrant committee, and it was unpleasant. If you and I are going to talk on a Wednesday night, okay, we'd set up a public Zoom. That's not the worst thing in the world. But then, oh, you can't make it on Wednesday night. Okay, can we talk the next day? No, because you need 48 hours, which is really 3 days ahead of
People
time.
talking to each other? Yeah.
If we're an official subcommittee and if we're deliberating,
Oh, you have
Yes.
to have it open so people can see the conversation, is that what it is?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And you need 48 hours, more than 48 hours notice. So, okay, we weren't able to talk on Wednesday. Now the earliest we can talk is like Monday or Tuesday. Now, I think that's been ignored at times. I don't think anybody, but that's one consideration.
So help me understand, so this open meeting law means that if two people are on a subcommittee, whenever they choose to get together to discuss what they've reached.
I will say if
It has to
they're-
be available to everybody to see, is that what it is?
I mean, we can check this with other experts.
Okay.
I will say if they're deliberating. I think it was mentioned yesterday that if you're
Oh, decision-making, not just kind of gathering information.
If you're fact-finding, maybe that's an exception. But then who's to say, oh, we were fact-finding in this mission, we weren't discussing. So
Oh, okay.
it's
I got
better. This is a good opportunity for me to bring up a change that I would like to make at the warrant committee. People, Ron, this is you, don't go away. Don't go away, Ron, I'm talking about you. People who are not physically in the room, you're just as equally a part of this discussion as the people who are in this room. So in the past, Ron's raising his hand. That's very polite. Sometimes we're having a discussion around the room where people raise their hands. Sometimes we're having a discussion around the room where people just chat. And if we're having that kind of discussion, Ron, don't hold back. You're raising your hand. Jump in there.
Yeah.
And that goes for everyone.
I don't recall. Do we need to,
But I guess I'm calling on you now, Ron.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Do you recall if we need to televise subcommittee meetings?
Well, I will say we don't need to televise anything because we're not an elected board.
Got it. Okay.
But then we even more don't need to televise subcommittee meetings.
Yeah, because I agree. I mean, it creates a lot of administrative challenges when we form these official subcommittees, and it's hard to get work done if we have all these kind of obligations. I mean, I think we all want transparency, it just makes the job very hard if we need to schedule everything 2 days in advance.
Can we seek clarification on that?
We certainly can.
Is that something that town council would advise on?
I think it's something the town clerk would advise on. That's the first person I would go to. That's what I think the answer is going to be, but yeah.
Other than that, it would be people choosing 1 or 2 or 3 of these items and investigating it separately on their own, and then bringing it back as requested.
Yes.
Because I think that code of ethics that we had to take talked about the open meeting law and the requirements, and it didn't strike me, and I don't recall in detail, that subcommittees would qualify under that.
Okay.
So,
I'm going from memory,
I'm not a
and
lawyer, but
I've been wrong before, so.
We should have voted for the attorney.
sure, it's not me.
Then, why
I
don't
think we
we,
should get, I'm sorry,
yeah,
town council, we should ask town council this question.
I mean, again, I think I'll start with the town clerk. I think she's pretty much an expert at the open meeting law. She has it. If she wants to ask somebody else, she can.
let's ask her and table a decision on how we're structuring this until then.
Okay.
I agree.
I do have one question.
I mean, when you say, sorry, can I interrupt? When you say table a discussion how we're structuring this, are we talking about just schools? What about all the other things?
Just in general,
In general,
whether we're having one or multiple people. I mean, if we're constrained by open meeting law, I'd be more inclined to say, let's have one person in charge, and if someone else happens to have a conversation, then
Yeah. Yeah, totally agree.
who manages risk or monitors risk for the town?
That's a good question. The obvious answer is I don't know. Another answer is risk in what sense? There's IT risk. There's, the treasurer certainly manages risk in some sense. The town administrator in some sense. Don't take any of these as authoritative, but can I ask where you're going with the question? Or do you want?
I mean, that
add
seems to be
list?
one thing that's missing, right?
Okay.
IT risk, when I think about schools and IT, that's one area that I would professionally say was avoidable.
I hear what you're saying. This sounds like a good discussion. I do want to sort of stick to.
No, and it leads to the general, which is
Add something to this list. Great.
it's not a department. It's
Great.
but
Be almost like an enterprise risk management role, that's what you're kind of looking for, to look at risks across.
I mean, if the town doesn't have that, it would be wise to have an ERM.
Yeah. Okay. So what I'm hearing is, I'll reach out to the town clerk, ask for clarification about the subcommittees. I'm hearing there is sort of an open question as to how we should deal with schools. I agree. There's a discussion about that. Aside from that, I would like people to sort of look over this list, see what appeals to you, and get back to me. Are we done with that agenda item? I would like to talk about one thing that I was going to talk about when talking about fall town meeting, which is there are several, well, at least one, but I think several articles coming up to the fall town meeting that involve fines, like the light trespass bylaw. If my floodlight is shining in your bedroom and the select board says you're violating the bylaw, and I say I don't care and I keep doing it, eventually there are going to be fines. Now, when fines have come before the warrant committee in the past couple of years, it's sort of been ad hoc. Nick, you may remember about 10 years ago, there was a proposal for fining people for violating the zoning bylaws. And I remember it because I was so inspired by town meeting. The town meeting rose up and said, no, these fines are too onerous. And we sent it back, and they came back with things that weren't as onerous. So we've sort of been going off my memory and Tom Caldwell's memory and flying by the seat of our pants to say, are these fines reasonable or not? What I would like, in the same way that we had people volunteer to look into these articles, I would like before the fall town, in preparation for the fall town meeting, someone to volunteer, start by talking to the town administrator and asking him, someone to figure out what's going on with fines in town. What do our bylaws currently say for when can the town fine people? What do other towns do? What's reasonable? So that when something comes to us and we've got a light trespass and we say the fine is $100 a day, or it's $20 every 2 weeks, or something to give us guidance to this is a reasonable fine. This is the kind of thing that the town of Milton finds in other circumstances. This is what other towns do. So that's sort of not about a specific town meeting article, but something that I think we could benefit from learning about before the fall town meeting.
I can take that.
Great. If there are no other volunteers, I'll get I think I see somebody on this list that would be great to join you in that. Okay, thank you. I'm happy to clarify the request if you want, but all right. Thank you for letting me jump around. So that's agenda item 5, agenda item 3. 2 more items on the agenda. One is the fall summit, which I've referred to a few times. The school committee and the select board both I've learned the school committee has one 4 times a year. They call them retreats because they're retreaters, I guess. But they sit and just talk about internally, how are things going to go this year? How are things going? I think we could very much benefit from one of those. I talked about it last meeting, things like training, and not just for new people. I think a lot of members could benefit from a training of, how do we work? How does the warrant work? How does the town government work? Talking to other members of town government, learning about what they do and how we interact with them. And finally, setting policies. I think two types of policies. Two types of policies I discussed last week. One is sort of internal policies, what I said a few minutes ago. What is in scope and what is out of scope? If we're talking about a budget item, how much do we think we should dig into the nuts and bolts of how this department works? Set for ourselves. What do we want to, what are our ground rules for operating? And, but also financial policies. Now, the more I think about it, the more I think it may be too ambitious to say, in the first week of September, we're going to come up with a financial policy for the override stabilization fund. We can try. I don't know if we'll succeed, but at least discuss that. So those are the sorts of things I'm thinking we'll talk about at our summit. I think it'll be, 2 things. Ron asked a few minutes ago about meetings being televised. These sorts of meetings aren't televised for the school the school committee and the select board. I don't particularly want to be televised for us. I think I want to have more opportunity for people to ask stupid questions and be embarrassed. So I don't see any reason. It'll be an open meeting. Any member of the public can come and look at us, but I don't think it'll be televised. And I'm thinking early September. I think it'll be longer than a normal meeting. What I want to know from people is, what would you like? For example, it could be one long meeting. I don't think that sounds great. It can be, for example, it could be 2 nights. And I haven't hammered out an exact agenda. I don't have a really good sense of how long it'll be, but it could be 2 nights that are 3 hours long or 3 nights that are 2 hours long. And I know different people will have different preferences. If you've got small children, a 2-hour meeting, your whole night's gone and you might as well stay longer. So I would like to hear right now
Are we
and the next week.
expecting for town people to come in and present as well, or it's just us to discuss?
I'm expecting, for example, the town administrator, the chair of the school committee, the chair of the select board to come.
So get information
people like
from them
that.
too. Okay.
Yep. As far as scheduling, I'm thinking post-Labor Day, school vacation's over, people are back in town. So throwing it out, this is not your last opportunity to suggest something, but
You taking us to Vegas?
I think I might buy you pizza.
Well,
Vegas.
No, I was going to say, I was on a board for a university where we used to just have 2 retreats a year, one in the fall, one in the spring. We would take a day and then like 4 hours the next day. And then the university people would all present all their pieces, and then we would ask them questions on it, and then we would vote on the other things. So it was like a commitment that we made twice a year. That's kind of on the weekend, so it was like not during the week. It just, because when you start having people bring in like presentations, whether it's development or finance or whatever, it becomes very kind of cumbersome and you want to hear that, but then there's questions. So like breaking stuff up, it kind of loses the momentum. But that's just my experience.
That's certainly a view, and it can be a long weekend day. That is one option. I think, unlike what you said, we're not going to be voting on, like, we're not going to hear from the school committee and then vote on something.
No, I know, but this was more informational to help give us a perspective of where the direction was going. So when we had to meet internally to say, where do we want to go? Let's create this. We have context and perspective. That's kind of what it was for. So.
Okay, thank you. And there's also the question of, if we do have multiple nights, let's say it's 3 nights, 2 hours each. Do we have them 3 nights in a row? Do we spread them over a week? Do we spread them to the next week? I think one reason I was thinking shorter meetings is just, people's attention span. I mean, people get burned out.
You set forth the agenda for that discussion. I thought you said 2 things, right? One is to talk about the scope of our review for specific articles. And the second thing you said was the scope of potentially coming up with recommendations for the town on potential new policies for consideration of implementation. And I'm just trying to see if those are the 2 objectives of the retreat. How does that fit in with having presentations from some of the other, or is there, other objectives besides those 2, or maybe I misheard?
Yeah, I wouldn't say those are the only 2 objectives. I'd say those might be the only 2 things that we sort of decide on and vote on. But as far as objectives, for example, and this doesn't apply to everyone, we have members here, new members who've never been in town meeting. So start from, I'm assuming you've never been on the warrant committee, never been in a town meeting. Here's what the warrant is. Here's the decisions we make. Here's how we make decisions. What kind of things can we vote on for budget articles? How do we have votes? If we have, let's say somebody proposes the official town ice cream flavor is going to be vanilla. And let's say we vote on that and we vote no. Does that, we're recommending that town meeting vote no, or are we having some other proposal? I'm getting a little off topic, but sort of, discussing how the warrant committee works, what our role is in town government. And I do want to emphasize, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but if we do have, let's say it's 3 days, and let's say the first day is training on how we work, I sort of don't want these to be viewed as optional. I mean, obviously we're missing a third of our members. Every meeting is optional. You're all adults. But even like the training one, I think we could all benefit from. We could all help to come together and see how things work. And also just hearing from other departments. Like, I think hearing from the school committee of what is the school committee's relationship to the school administration? And how do they work with that? And then that will give us some guidance on, and then we're 1 degree removed from them. So how does our setting the budget work with the school committee proposing a budget, work with them, working with the administration who actually carries things out? I think it'll just benefit for us to hear from how town government works. Yes?
My opinion is I would rather not lose weekend days, my opinion. I'd rather
Perfectly fine.
something.
That's what I was expecting, but
Definitely.
I'm totally in line with what Brian's saying.
I didn't even bring it up because I didn't want the mob to revolt, but
I don't care either way. I like to get it done so that I can then, I've committed to it, and then I'm like, okay, I've got all the information, and then I make the decisions, and then it's like,
okay.
I don't
Either way,
mind
it
using
doesn't
weekend days if it was, say, 8 to 10 in the morning. We kept to its, specific time limit, and it was, first thing in the morning, and moved on with something else. So if it was one of the days and there were 2 others, or however that would go, it doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah, I think the reason to do a weekend day would be to do it all at once. So I think if we're going to have a couple 3-hour meetings, we can have like a Monday and a Tuesday meeting. They each run for 3 hours. I guess that's one question is, 2 3-hour meetings or 3 2-hour meetings. Do you want to have them one after another or split them from 1 week to the next? I feel like I'm cutting it, when I say it out loud, I feel like I'm cutting it too finely.
I think the hard part is like with work schedules, like when are people getting out? Because are you then starting at 6:30 and we're here till 9, 10 o'clock? I get burnt out at 10 o'clock, but I mean, I can do it.
I mean, we've been here from 7 to 11, 11:30 before.
Yeah.
There's a component of the retreat that I think I asked questions about last year.
Okay.
And that are going to happen to every time new members come on board.
Okay.
I would rather see some basic things documented out whether we do it as we go along or create a living document to do it, like, what exactly does a warrant committee do? And what is its relation to town meeting? My surprise last year was, I'm going to have to go to every town meeting.
Yeah.
I did not realize that had to happen. And there's some real basic things that I think that are basic questions that I think we could write out for new members every year that's repeatable, rather than hold a training for it every year.
You're right.
There are more valuable things that I think make sense to be discussed. And echoing Brian, my availability on the weekends is really suspect. I mean, like weeks or months out in advance. And so realistically, I'd rather see multiple series of 3-hour meetings than an all-day event anywhere. Because
I think I'm hearing that in the room. Yeah, and yeah, what you said, and I've said this multiple times. Just in personal conversations, nobody's born knowing these things. Nobody's born knowing how the warrant works. And so, yeah, what you're saying about writing it out in a document makes a whole lot of sense. I don't know why I didn't think of that.
Because it's
but we can also,
there's some real basic things, right?
Yeah.
I had asked, what does a secretary do last year? And the answer was, well, we're not really quite sure. And some real basic questions like, how does a warrant committee interact with the select board or with the other committees? And so I think as these questions come up, we can write them down, put them in a document, and figure out a way to make it into a training material.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. Of course, you know how these things go when you mention it.
It's yours.
Yeah, I like that. And it brings me back to something that I alluded to earlier, and I'm going to say a little more specifically. The basic things, and I'm not going to name names, obviously, but in my time on the warrant committee, I've heard experienced warrant committee people confused about some things, like how our property taxes work, and that's not basic, but still how our property taxes work. So that's why I said I'd like even if part of it is training, I'd like the returning members to come back, not to slight anybody, but I think we could all use that.
But my questions like open meeting law, what's subject to open meeting law? That's like, we still don't know.
Yeah.
And so that I think those are good things to document.
I like that.
Everybody's aware of.
Okay. So I think we've discussed what I want to discuss, which is sort of what's the schedule, and I'm not hearing serious objections to like a couple 3-hour meetings in a row. Again, this is over a month away.
I'd prefer 2 3-hour nights than 3 nights of 2 hours.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the kind of feedback I wanted to hear.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. So I'm open to other questions, but that takes care of what I wanted to do on this agenda item. One last thing on the agenda is approve minutes. Now, we received 5 sets of minutes from Karen. I will ask, now, it's tradition. I don't know if it's a hard and fast rule that people who weren't on the warrant committee don't vote on approving the minutes. So that leaves 4 of us, counting Ron. I will ask the 4 of us, I will ask the 3 of you, do you feel comfortable voting on these minutes? I want to be more strict about minutes this year than we have been in the past. And yet, well, 2 things. And yet, I didn't read these. And the second one is, Macy said she would be the Lord of the minutes, and she's not here, so we can blame her.
I'd rather see her and Julia here.
Okay.
But
so what you're saying is you didn't read them either?
no, actually I did.
Oh, you did?
Believe it or not.
I'm sorry for slandering you.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's Andrew's opinion. Brian, Ron, do you want to vote now or kick it till the next meeting?
I'd prefer to kick it.
Well, that's 2 out of 3. Okay. Okay. So I am serious about being more prompt about it. approving minutes this year, but letting things slide once in a while is not the end of the world. That is everything we had on the agenda.
Should we vote on the ones from the last meeting then, just to get you caught up as the new
That's a
chairman?
good
Oh.
idea.
On top of things.
Oh, that's one of them.
Yes.
Shows how well I'm paying attention. Yes,
I motion to approve those minutes from what, July 14th, 15th?
July 14th.
14th.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Because we have one person on Zoom, not naming names, we'll do a roll call vote. Karen?
Elaine,
Yes.
Jamesley,
Yes.
Lorraine,
Yes.
Grace,
Yes?
Andrew,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
Nicholas,
Yes.
Cecile,
Yes.
and Jay.
Abstain.
The motion carries.
Okay. That is all the agenda items. So unless someone has something else they need to discuss,
Like, oh, go ahead.
go ahead. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
That's what I was going to
Okay.
do.
Second.
Okay.
It's online.
By acclamation, we're adjourned. By silent acclamation, if there is such a thing.